not be in a position to actually physically meet. That's a possibility. But we should, always. Okay, Shiva, Vinayak, fine. And in between, also, I may ask you to, turn on your videos because I may ask you something, or if you are interacting, so it will be good if you show your faces as well. All right. So shall I start? 55 students have joined. So does this branch L section has any CR?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Who is he or she?
Ma'am, it's me, Shivam Upadhyay, and
Shivam.
And
Samriddhi
Samruddhi
Thakre.
Shivam. Shivam Upadhyay. Okay, fine. And anybody else?
Samriddhi Thakre,
Thakur.
ma'am.
Samriddhi. All right. Fine. Although I will be, communicating all information on Google Classroom, but in case I need, quick response, so I will contact both of you so that information can be, circulated amongst
Okay, ma'am.
the other
Okay,
batchmates
ma'am.
of yours who are, part of this L section. Um, all right. So first, I will introduce myself. So some of you might be knowing. So I'm Moksha Singh, and presently I'm assistant professor in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, NIT Raipur. And because of some, adjustments, I was allotted your section. And from now on, I will be actually dealing with the lectures and your TAs and other things. So that's me. And there are few prerequisites or requirements from my side. And what I expect from all of you is that you should actually participate in the class and the discussions that are happening. I don't want you to be mute spectators who are just listening and not participating, because we are talking about values here. We will be talking about why these are important, and because there is a generation gap between you and me. And with that, I don't want to say that I'm old. I'm not that old, but still, researches have been conducted, and the recent researches, they suggest that earlier the generation gap would be of, like, if there is a 25 years of gap between two people, that would be called as a generation gap. So maybe you and your mom, but nowadays it has trickled down to like 5 years or 6 years. So you may consider yourself very modern, outgoing, but somebody who is 5 years younger to you, maybe again much more advanced, modern to you. And again, there could be a generation gap. So my point here is that I need to have some information, ideas, your perspective, so that I get to know you more, and that ways I would be able to uh, deliver better. Okay. And Shivam and Samriddhi, uh, so because you are class representatives, so from your side, I want to know, what are the things which, I should consider while, teaching this section, because you know each other maybe a bit. So what are your expectations? Quickly tell me.
Ma'am, you
Students
can
always
teach in your own way,
Okay, we'll start with
as
Samriddhi
you
first.
want.
Okay, Shivam, you start, Shivam.
Ma'am, you can teach in your own way, whatever you like to,
Oh,
in
this is
which way
very
you
long.
like to teach, you can.
No, it
Ma'am, we
should
are
be on.
comfortable with all the ways.
You're comfortable. Okay, so
Ma'am,
everybody
we
agrees
all are
with me.
comfortable.
Is there any issue with the language, either Hindi or
No,
English?
ma'am.
No,
No,
ma'am,
ma'am.
English, mostly English is preferred because there are some South Indian students also.
Okay, fine. And what about
Yes,
Hindi?
ma'am.
If I make a few statements, phrases, or if I use few words, would that be convenient, comfortable?
Yes, ma'am, a few
Ma'am,
words
you
are
can use.
convenient.
Okay, fine. Fine. Other thing is that, see, on Google Classroom, you are also given the opportunity to, share your thoughts. So you will find that you can share messages, you can share reading material as well. If you come across any interesting piece, you can share that also with your, classmates, right? So you have the opportunity. So my point, my requirement is that you should involve, interact, be frank enough. You are grown ups and are future what should I say, engineers, and your role in the developmental activity would be very important for us. So your views, perspectives, very important whenever I say anything, or if for that matter anybody says anything. So that's what I require. In between, if you have any doubt, if you have any question, if you have any observation, so just raise your hand. I hope you know how to do that, or just put something in the chat box, your query, and I will respond accordingly. Okay, is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And in between there might be certain interruptions, because I have a small daughter, and she may come screaming. That may happen, so please bear with me. Okay. And the other thing is that this particular lecture and the other lectures will be recorded, and I will share these lectures on Google platform as well, so that this is for those who may face some internet glitches. And so if they are not able to attend the lecture properly, or if they miss out on something, so I will even share the PowerPoint with all of you, so that you can actually go through those, and those might help you. Okay. All right, fine. So first I'll share the PowerPoint. Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so fine. So as far as my understanding goes, so whatever lectures have been taken by Dr. Hina Chabra, so she was basically focusing upon the micro perspective, and with the micro perspective, what I mean is the self or the individual. And she touched upon, I think, a lot of topics related to it. So what kind of value crisis somebody faces in his or her lifetime, how it affects his well being, and how he can actually come out of that particular crisis. Okay, so because that part has been covered, so I will be concentrating more upon the macro perspective, wherein obviously any individual for that matter gets affected by whatever is happening all around us. For example, this pandemic situation, so we all know that how our lives were turned upside down because of this. Instead of you coming to the college, enrolling yourself, meeting friends, having a new peer group, and all the attractions that a particular college life has, you are missing out on that, and a lot of compromises and adjustments have been made so that you actually adjust to this change scenario. But what happens in this situation, that again, number of values get compromised. So there is a possibility, for example, you might have been in your school days very attentive, you would have gone to the school regularly, attending all the classes from 9 maybe to 2 in the afternoon. But here you might be online, but then you may be somewhere else. So somewhere some kind of some value is getting compromised. I'm not trying to generalize, I'm just giving an example. If I talk about the teachers also, so there also, I think somewhere some values might have been, getting compromised because of the new setup that we have actually entered into. All right. So my point here is that, whatever is happening around you, at the global level, maybe, or the national level, maybe it affects the way you think about yourself, you think about other people, you think about the globalized, the global community. All right. So I'll try to keep everything simple. I will not, bring in those tough theories or theoretical models into it. But we'll keep it basic, so that we just understand that how this gets affected, the values, what kind of crisis it may result, and how these actually can be dealt with. All right. And I'm not saying that there is, I can give you this assurance that 100% we can actually achieve whatever values have been set up by a society, because again, my understanding and your understanding of the values will vary, though we have universal values which remain uniform. but then other values may vary, because again, because of the generation gap that I was talking about. For you, there is a possibility, and with you I don't mean your section. I'm just, bringing in other people also into it. So family might be very important for somebody. Earning well would might be, more important than the family, and he may, get into some kind of compromises. Anyhow, so I'll move forward. So here is the overview of this particular session. So first I will just, speak a little bit about what are values, though you have already, gone through it, understood it. Then I'll talk about that. Why should we basically care about, values? So because I've been talking about the macro perspective, so I'll bring in the concept of modernity into it, or it is also called as modernity. I'll tell you what exactly this particular concept is also when we move forward. And then I will talk about modernity and the value crisis that results out of it. And then we'll see one, a very interesting, beautiful TED talk. It's truly amazing. I don't know, I find it amazing. Depends on how you look at it. And this particular TED talk may help you, somewhere judge or strike a balance, that how in this modern world, wherein so much, so much change has happened, how we can actually tackle with, whatever kind of value crisis that is resulting. Okay. I may not be able to look at your chat messages. If anybody has a query, so just unmute yourself and speak. Okay. So fine. So before I, share with you what my understanding of values is, I would, ask you to just briefly describe me. What do you understand by values? Because you've attended classes also previously. So quickly, it will be better if I don't have to call people to talk about it. आप खुद से मुझे बताइए जो भी आपकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग में आप क्या समझते हैं व्हाट आर वैल्यूज क्विकली वैभव आर यू देयर वैभव कुमार so if you don't respond you will be marked absent so I'll be a bit strict with certain things you can communicate any kind of thought with me be frank with me I have no problems but if you don't respond back you might be marked absent so Vaibhav are you there from CSE Vaibhav is not there okay he'll be marked absent Sayed Rehbar IT Sushmita IT am
Yes,
I
ma'am.
audible
Yes,
yes
ma'am.
Sushmita okay so what do you understand by values
Values. What kind of like human values?
obviously
Human values. There's a lot kind of human values there. Like, um, actually, I'm not familiar with that. So in my head, I
have you not
can't
attended the
explain this.
okay have you not attended the previous classes which Hina Chabra madam took
Yes, ma'am. I have attended, but um, to be honest, like we passed 12th and recently passed 12th, and it's really difficult to describe this kind of thing, and it's really difficult to understand this kind of thing.
okay fine so I'll try my best so that you understand what we are talking about because a very important question arises here that for an engineering student who is supposed to be an engineer in like 4 years of time why teaching values or other courses from humanities and social sciences becomes important so I think I should first ask this question rather than asking what are values, give me examples. So, do you think these courses are important for an engineer? This is for everybody.
Obviously,
I
ma'am,
need to know. I
it's
need to know.
important.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, it is important for everyone. whether it's an engineer or a
Why?
doctor or anyone. Because values are the things
Hmm.
that we have to maintain in our daily life. It is a belief that we practice in our daily life, such as love, freedom, and anything else that we show towards anyone else.
Hmm.
So it is important in our life as it is the basic ethics that we have to follow.
Okay, fine. So ethics. So you must have heard about professional ethics. I'll give you one example also, wherein this issue of values come into picture in a particular profession. It is, and it is not just that profession, but to every profession. And in the beginning, I had said that engineers. So you will be participating in the developmental processes that are going to happen or are already happening. So you are very important to us. But then, being an engineer, there are other concepts that are very important, and in that, understanding what values are, this is very important for all of us. All right. Anybody else who wants to share his or her perspective? Anushri, Ukkalam?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, what is your understanding? Should you undergo these courses from humanities and social sciences? And don't come up with your response, which wherein you are trying to please me. That is not needed. Just your perspective, a genuine one. Anushri.
Yes, ma'am. Like values are the backbone of everything we do. They keep us determined and they show a path, like how to do a task, or what is like the what do we say?
Okay, fine. So they define your action,
Yes,
right?
ma'am. They define our
And
action and
I'll tell
the
you,
proper way to do any work, like in a righteous way.
yes, fine, correct. All right, so I'll move ahead. And if you face any problem, if I'm not audible or if the screen is not audible, just let me know. Okay, so the PowerPoint is visible, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Okay, fine. Fine. So, good for your, thank you for your responses. This way I will get to know you more, and I will obviously try to deliver more based on that. So here are, two definitions of two different people who in their own understandings have, come up with how to, define values. So beginning with the first one. So values are basic and fundamental beliefs that guide or motivate attitudes or actions. They help us to determine what is important to us. Values describe the personal qualities we choose to embody to guide our actions, the sort of person we want to be, the manner in which we treat ourselves and others, and our interaction with the world around us. So they provide the general guidelines for conduct. Just imagine a situation wherein you were not actually told or socialized or trained into performing or acting in certain situations. If there was no concept of this values, just imagine that how an individual or a human being would have behaved across the globe, and what kind of problems or issues this might have resulted in. For example, I mentioned about professional ethics. So just imagine about an organization wherein you are going to be the manager and there are 100 people who are working under you, and if there are no guidelines available of the code of conduct or of the ethics, professional ethics, which are supposed to be followed. So just imagine that what kind of chaos that particular organization may have to face, or come across. All right. So values become very important. All right. So they basically let you tell you about how you are supposed to conduct yourself in particular situations and how the decision making is to be made. Now, talking about Van Fossen, so he has worked a lot on values and other issues related to it. So, for him, value is understood as a generic term for all those belief and expressive idea forms to which some positive or negative valuational meaning is attached. Okay, so you are being told from your very childhood, ye karo, ye mat karo. All right, this is good for you and this is not good for you. And to which I know that you must have rebelled number of times. So don't go out with your friends. Don't have too many friends. All right, don't trust people just like that. So you may accept it, you may not accept it, depending again upon the kind of experiences that you have, or the kind of perspective that you have, or the kind of personality that you have. And I'm not trying to tell here that I am wrong as a human being or you are wrong as a human being. I'm just trying to tell you that what basically happens on on the general level, when any individual, comes into this, takes birth and comes into becomes a part of a particular society. All right, so every family has certain rules, regulations, norms, and that family who is, part of a community, then again at a larger level, again there are certain norms, rules, regulations, values associated with that particular community. Think about yourself. So you belong to a particular caste. Caste is important in India. You belong to a particular region. You belong to a particular religion. All right, and all have, their own set of cultural beliefs, to practices, to norms, to values, which they actually tell their younger ones to follow. And there are, then again, there are, different processes through which this socialization happens, that the children are trained. I hope you understand this term socialization, wherein a direct or indirect training of a child takes place, wherein the adults take charge and let them understand the society, let them understand the world, and how they are supposed to adjust themselves into those processes. All right. So I hope you understand what basically values are here, and we'll come up across more examples. We'll discuss more about it, and we'll have a greater understanding on it. Okay. Now the thing is that if I ask you, what do we care about most? Quickly tell me, what do you care about most in your life? Quickly, just one word.
And
Parents.
family.
Family.
The terms that we
Family.
have
Parents.
with
Okay,
our
good.
close
And
ones.
the
Ma'am,
what? Sorry,
peace.
The terms that we have with
peace.
our close ones.
Okay, the terms that you have with your closed ones. Okay, good. And more. I want more responses. There
Happiness.
are like more than 60 students. Yes.
Money
Happiness.
also, parents, family.
Happiness, money, parents, family. Yes. Now the thing is
Career,
that
parents, family, and the career.
again, if you look career, okay,
Nation.
fine. Nation, okay, fine. See again. Now, see, if you look at this particular image, now you see that there are three females
Excuse me,
who are
ma'am.
from different races. Sorry, yeah.
Ma'am, I think you're presenting a slideshow and we are not able to see that. We are only able to see the presentation, the previous slide.
Okay, I'll reshare it then. Some issue, I think. Give me a second.
Ma'am, now it is visible.
Okay, I'll stop sharing because I put it on full screen mode. Just give me 1 minute. Can you see it now? Full screen mode?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Fine. So I've already asked you a question that what do you care about most, and you have come up with a lot of things that you care or are important to you. And here in this particular image, you can see that there are three females who belong to different races and different parts of the globe. And just have a look, at these, things which have been mentioned on the top that they care about. For example, for this white lady, discussions, justice. These are the things which are important, and there are then other things for somebody from who is black. So for them, see family to community, ethics or community values are very important. From somebody who belongs to a yellow race, so then again brotherhood to again family to health. These things become very important. So point is that researchers also from across the globe and people who belong to different fields, they have tried to understand that depending upon the culture that you belong to, a region that you belong to, or a race that you belong to, so what becomes important for you with respect to the values, and is there any variability? So interestingly, these neuroscientists to psychologists to sociologists, they came across certain interesting findings. I'll just share it with you. Just let me know if you can see that particular web page. It'll open in some time. I will try to share all these links with you and material to read. If you're interested, you can go through all of this. Can you see this web page, Visual Capitalist?
No, ma'am.
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
No,
No,
ma'am. We
ma'am.
are still
No,
in
No,
the
ma'am.
ma'am.
presentation mode.
Did it open?
Not
No, ma'am.
yet.
No.
We are still at PPT, ma'am.
Ma'am, you have shared the
Okay.
PPT, so the other windows will not be open to her.
No, I shared the hyperlink also, no? So, okay, just a second. Okay, can you see this now?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So I took this image from, this group which is called as Visual Capitalist. I'll share this link also with you. If you're interested, you can go through whatever they've mentioned in this particular article. Now, the thing is that, as per them, they did an analysis of like 5 lakh plus, value graphic survey um, across, people speaking 152 languages. And what they found was that there are 56 values that basically drive all kind of human behavior, and you can just see, and which you mentioned also, for example, family to relationships to financial security, belonging, community, personal growth. Then there is respect, compassion, experiences to material possessions also. For somebody that may be important, and that's his choice. You cannot actually criticize. Self control, self expression, environmentalism. So you will find that in certain parts of the world, environmental movements are very important compared to other parts of the world. And there is a reason behind, because those particular regions may be experiencing environmental degradation at a greater scale, or maybe those regions or nations are much more aware about the kind of impact the developmental unprecedented growth or development is having on the environment. So for certain sections of the society, environmentalism could be one value which is very important. Tolerance to leisure, influence, intimacy. So leisure, for example, Italians are considered to give a lot of importance to again, the interactions, the social interactions with the groups or their peers or their families. In India also, you'll find Asia also, that family becomes very important. Interactions, social interactions become very important. We give less importance to individualism, we give more importance to wherein the community or the family comes into the picture. Okay, so here they have shared some more information on you can see again the values which are important in particular region compared to the other one. Africa, for example, so you were talking about family, so this is an average bar which they have given. So you can see that for almost all regions or the continents, maybe family is one of the major institutions that is important to every region of the world. Okay, this you can see all lie on this particular dotted line, which is the world average. If I talk about community, so see Africa, you will find that because of the kind of socio-economic political situation that Africa has been undergoing, so what has happened is that this community feeling is on the rise. The other thing is that because it is a tribal society, mostly in India also you'll find a lot of tribes. So again, this community we feeling very important. So their values compared to China, for example, you can see this falls below the world average. Rest Asia, this doesn't mean that India is below when it comes to community ethics or um, I mean the we feeling. But in general, they have mentioned about how rest of Asia, you can see Central Asia, for example, again, it is above the world average compared to North America, wherein the individual, feelings, values are given more, importance or consideration. Fine. And then there are other which you can go through later on, for example, loyalty, freedom of speech, respect, authority, and other things. And why I'm sharing such things with you because this is your first year, right? But by the time you are in your third year, you will be preparing for various interviews for your placements and all, and things of this sort will be very important. If you have knowledge of things which, and I'm not talking about values here, I'm talking about other social, economic, political issues. If you know about these, if you have a concern about these, this group discussion interview would become a cakewalk for you. And when the companies come here, the recruiters, they say, not for all, again it is, I don't want to say we have wonderful students, but somewhere we get stuck. Okay, so from now on I'll suggest you that you involve yourself. I know there must be, time constraint for you, might be very busy with all the classes and other things, but knowing about these things, issues, again will give you an edge when you face the interviews. Okay, I hope you got my point here.
Pardon, ma'am. Can you slow the slide again of respect?
Slideshow, you are talking about the PowerPoint or the web page which I shared?
Ma'am, on the respect section, we have seen that the Europe has the least
Okay,
bit of advanced in.
I'll share. Just a second. Okay, I closed it. 1 second, huh? Give me 1 second. I closed it. Yeah, can you see the screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
Tanmay was
Yes,
asking a
ma'am.
question, I suppose. Okay, respect, right? Yeah.
Ma'am, as we can see, Europe is the like least polar region in the world and the most liberal one. But the respect graph is very low in it, while the Africa, which is considered as the least literate, and like they are polarized with the tribal with the tribes. All the tribes are different and they fight each other, but the respect graph is very high there.
Okay,
I don't
fine.
know.
So we'll have to actually look at the variables also based on which they have assessed this respect. For example, if I talk about India, if I talk about other Asian countries, or for that matter, African countries, so respecting your elders, for example, is very important. Because Europe again shows a lot of signs of individualism. So there, how much respect maybe you have for the elders, maybe based on that they have assessed it. So the individuality or individualism may be a criteria for them to make an assessment on this particular thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, got my point. So maybe at the the
Due to
micro
the
levels.
it is due to the
Yes.
individual behavior of everyone that they make a social, like they have their own separate space. That's why the respect they show to the others are less as compared to the rest of the world, because
Yes.
they they just live alone, right?
Yes, so
Most of them.
individualism. See, so you just look at the kind of families that we have, the kind of values that we have, our community has, for example. So, so even now, when you meet an elder, even if you don't know him, you maybe you will use certain greetings which are part of our culture. You will listen to your elders. If see, for example, if I talk about marriage, and again in our families, so taking the opinion of the elders, the parents or your grandparents, for example, becomes very important. So once one a lady had come from the US through an exchange program. That time I was doing my PhD, and so she happened to attend one Indian wedding, and she was very happy about it because there was so much glamour, glitter, the barat and the dance, and she was very happy about it, and she said, I would like to attend more weddings. So I said, fine, that's fine. And but then I told her that marriages are a tricky affair in India. And so she said, I told her about arranged marriages, and she was like, obviously people get surprised from other parts of the world. And I told her that what happens, so this decision making regarding who should marry whom. So see, so it's out of respect I can say that wherein the younger ones listen to the elder ones, or give importance to the kind of experiences that they have. And I told her it is not just these two individuals deciding about whom to get married to, but their parents, to grandparents, to the mohalla. So there's a lot of involvement happening, and then this wedding has actually taken place. I'm not again generalizing. Again, there are parents who are very liberal. They'll let the child decide for him, not the child. I shouldn't say the child, but the individual or their son or daughter to decide for themselves whom they should marry. But what happens in societies of this sort, that the kind of respect that you give to the elders is different compared to what happens. So they are very in Europe or America or other continents, if you get to travel, you'll find that even they will be very polite to a stranger. All right, but then they will be very blunt if they don't think that something is not okay or they are not happy about. So, and this community feeling is comparatively less compared to in our part of the world, right? So that ways maybe they have checked. So for further details, you can actually go through this and justify or question the kind of information that they've shared. Okay, I hope I'm clear,
Yes, ma'am.
and I'm happy that you are asking questions. Okay, fine. So it's 11:10. So I'll just a second. I'll go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so is Weber from CAC back?
Yes, sir.
Oh, so were you there or you didn't respond deliberately?
I am
And
here.
Sayed from IT, is he there? Sayed, are you there? He's not there. Okay, anyhow. So I'll move to the next slide. So why should we actually, or why do we care, about values? So through the discussions, we've already, get to know that these help us to basically, focus on what is important. So you might be in a fix. You might get yourself, in a situation wherein what to do and what not to do, has to be decided, and it'll then these values will come into play, wherein you'll be able to make a decision. Okay, can you give me an example wherein you would have been or were in a fix, and where something helped you to actually come out of that particular crisis? Quickly give me, share some example. Satya Sambhav from IT.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so were you in
Ma'am,
any kind of a situation?
ma'am, can you repeat the question, please? I was not able to get.
Okay,
Okay.
so
So
the first point
the
which you
first point
mentioned is that values
Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
values
values.
Voice not
Voice
clear,
not
ma'am.
clear, ma'am.
actually, I think,
Ma'am,
Your
Satya, are you using, Satya, you'll have to turn off your microphones.
I turned off, ma'am.
Okay. So my question was that have you ever come across a situation wherein you were in a fix कि ये करूं कि वो करूं, and then something helped you to actually resolve the crisis? Some thought,
Ma'am,
some
there has
idea,
been
some.
many a times, ma'am, but in my class 6th, my maths teacher had told me once that whenever you fall in such situation, just try to imagine that what would your parents feel about your decision, and it helps me a lot.
Okay. See, wonderful. Now the thing is that how your decision will actually impact your parents or your family. So I hope you got my point. So because there are certain values which are associated with your family or your society or the group that you are part of, and whenever you will be in a kind of crisis, that will actually help you to come out of that particular crisis. So should I opt for this particular job wherein you are going to be placed in somewhere in US, Canada, somewhere, all right, or should you be in India because you have elderly parents who don't want to move abroad? So depends now on. So the thing is that again it will these values basically will help you out with taking those decisions. So it brings clarity. It then helps you to rationalize. So what the practical aspect of it, so what can happen, what cannot happen, so you can take better decisions. So definitely, because we've talked about these 3 points, so it influences your behavior. Okay, whatever decisions that you take, it influences. Then it inspires you also. And then the word which I was mentioning, these values lead to the creation of ethics. So the code of conduct, for example, that any organization may be following. Okay, so they may get transformed into those ethics, so your professional ethics. So there could be a larger impact of such values that we have from the micro levels to then to the macro level. Okay, I'll give you one example based on it. So importance of C values in a healthcare, because we were having a discussion wherein we said that, I mean, somebody said that values, what basically these mean, you don't have an understanding, and which is a genuine position, okay, or the situation, because usually we are so focused or bothered about cracking an entrance exam, that obviously we'll be you know um, spending an extra time or effort into knowing those courses which are more important to crack those entrance examinations, than focusing upon this. But because now you are going to be the prospective engineers, this understanding these becomes very important. I have brought in the health care into this particular slide. I'm not talking about engineers, because this you have to share with me. Your responses are more important. So in coming classes we'll talk about it, that how can you basically give your efforts into the field that you have opted for. Okay, so okay, fine. So coming about, see, healthcare, just imagine that how important
Excuse me, ma'am.
value. Yeah.
I have a very
Yes.
generalized question. Uh, I have a very generalized question
Yeah.
related to the values. Since the childhood, as we grow up, like depending on our socio-economical culture, don't you think the values that we are taught since our childhood gets embedded so well into our personality that by the time we are grown up enough to explore all of it, we are already really biased towards what we already know or believe?
Yes, why not? See, there is one concept called as conditioning, condition and conditioning. And usually this particular concept is used for the negative, socialization that may happen. All right. For example, since our childhood, we have been, told or trained into believing that our caste is better compared to other castes. Our community is better compared to the other communities. Our religion, for example, is better than the other person's religion. And this is how we basically start assessing people. Okay, and this is how you get conditioned. And once an experiment was done, and I'm forgetting the details of it. So basically what these group of scientists they did, that they wanted to basically study about how an animal basically would behave when he looks at food, or if he is hungry, would he demand for food, or whatever they were trying to decipher that out. So what this group of scientists would do is that whenever they would serve the food to the dog, this particular scientist would first bark. Okay, तो वो भौंकेगा पहले उस डॉग के सामने, वो खाना रखने से पहले. तो फिर वो उसको खाना देगा, and the dog, obviously he's hungry and he'll start gulping the food. So this process was repeated for a few more days or months, I don't know. This was done. What they were expecting is that whenever they thought that the dog will learn that whenever he's hungry, he's supposed to bark or salivate. Okay. Now the thing is that after that period, when whatever the training was done, now what would happen is that whenever that scientist or somebody else will bring that dish of food, in front of the dog and keep it there, the dog won't eat the food. The dog will wait. Can you tell me why the dog, was actually waiting and not gulping the food quickly? Why?
He was waiting for someone
Yes.
to bark as it as it
Yes.
became his
Yes.
habit.
Yes, very good. Yes. Now, what had happened is that, see, because the scientist would first bark, keep the dish, and the dog will eat. The dog got so trained that this वो signal बन गया उसके लिए, the stimulus for example. So until and unless the scientist would bark, the dog won't eat the food. This is called conditioning, that no thought process is being applied here. We cannot expect that from animals, though, and animals are also very intelligent and sensible, but because the way that dog was trained. And this is what happens with human beings as well, because from your very childhood, if you are being trained into believing something and which might be wrong, okay, so no matter, I'm not saying that this doesn't happen, might happen, no matter how much exposure you are given, still you'll believe ki main to us khandan se hu. And we take so much of pride into saying that main us jaat ka hu. And this is what all, Indian politics is all about. We don't talk about education, we don't talk about healthcare, but you see that the negative, environment that it creates, wherein your jaat path and food habits to the religion that you practice becomes so important. It gets so much of importance that affairs, things which are important to you, get placed at the, I don't know where, it just vanishes out of the scene, right? So that is why, see, but the thing is that, yes, you are being trained into believing something, but that doesn't mean that change should not happen. That is why we are getting educated. Okay, that is why we are having these discussions. That is why I say that you are going to be prospective engineers and this change is needed. Okay. And then this doesn't mean that you rebel against your families or your communities, but then there is a way wherein you can actually deal. All right. So respect, for example, we were talking about. So you can be respectful, but you can, if you understand that what is important, so you know how to get that thing done, even if you are facing a lot of opposition, because it is good for the greater, I mean, for the greater cause. That particular action is important or is good. That is why, see, so I'll give you this example of healthcare industry as well. So now what happens is that we have an idealized, image of the doctor, that आप hospital जाएंगे तो doctor वहाँ होगा and he will give you a wonderful treatment, he'll give you time, he'll listen to you, counseling and proper treatment, a lot of things you actually, go with that kind of a perception. But what exactly happens in the hospitals? All right, so now it is not that the doctor is bad, but because of, again, the social situations, the demographics which play an important role. I don't know how many of you are from Raipur. I'm also not from Raipur, but when I got this opportunity to, not opportunity, that's not an opportunity actually, but I had to go to the hospital, a government hospital, and it is called Mekahara. Okay. So the thing is that I was supposed to get an X-ray done, and there were, like, I don't know, 100 people standing outside. Some with broken legs, some with more grievous injuries, and I was also waiting for a simple X-ray. Now, what happened is I was actually pushed inside. I was not even given the time to stand, aram se properly, and my X-ray was done, and a blur picture came. और उससे diagnosis, just imagine what kind of a diagnosis would be, made. So the population, for example. Okay, so there are a lot of things which basically influence, and somewhere what happens in such situations, the values get compromised. A lot of time the doctors get beaten up. All right, for no fault of theirs, or there could be a fault. But just imagine the behind, I mean, that particular picture. That, so this is what is important for an engineer, for a maybe an educationist, a researcher, a sociologist, a psychologist, to try to understand that, what are the different other institutions which basically influence such kind of a behavior, or such kind of values coming, or getting imbibed into our practices or behavior. Okay. So this idealized image, but the good thing was that during the mid 20th century, actually the doctors, they had a wonderful attitude towards the patients. They were kind, they were caring, there was good communication. All right, so a lot of positives. Why? Because population was less and there was time. Okay. And then this scientific medicine had not progressed much. So it was basically the counseling which may help more for the patient, because no scientific medicine, not much scientific medicine was available. Now what has happened is, and it is not just the scientific medicine, there are other reasons also, because of which the values in the healthcare have changed. So rise of scientific medicine is one. Then there are again the medical, again the instruments to machinery, to the population rise, to pandemics, to epidemics, to many things actually happening. Now what has happened, that somewhere this communication, this caring part, the kindness part has somewhere been somewhere it has been missing. Okay, and what happens is that patients, they don't meet their expectations when they go to the hospitals, and then they actually suffer. Fine. So now, but I'm not saying that there is no brighter side to it. Things are happening. For example, we have another discipline which has come forward, which is medical humanities. It is an interdisciplinary field of medicine. Okay, wherein it is not just medicine that you are concentrating upon, psychology, okay, economics, politics, behavioral sciences, for example, to your media, film, art industry, how this field of medicine or healthcare is represented. So I will just bring in this example of Munna Bhai. I don't know how many of you have seen it, because I'm from north, so I've seen Bollywood movies more. I'm sorry, I cannot bring in other examples from east to south. I've not seen much of the movies, but you can share, those who are from those regions, that the representation, for example, how it happens in uh, media, film. So Munna Bhai, you understand that for one doctor who was actually owning the hospital, a patient was the subject. But for Munna Bhai, who was actually not a doctor and was just fooling around in a way, and faking to be a doctor, but he understood that a patient should not be seen as a subject, but empathy, very important. And this empathy, again, it's one of the values. I consider it very important. So, for example, students, now in this class there are like 69 students, okay, and all these 69 students are from different backgrounds, different experiences, different exposure. And so I cannot treat one student or all the students in a similar fashion. I need to be empathetic, I need to understand. That is why I asked if you are okay with Hindi and English. Dono languages mein okay ho, I will make use of both the languages, because students belonging to either part of the region, they understand. All right. So empathy becomes very important, and this has to be introduced in all kinds of fields, not just healthcare. Engineering, for example, in the next class I'll ask you, just ponder about it, think about it, that why an engineer has to have greater understanding of values, because lot many times these values get compromised. I'll give you examples where these got compromised. Somewhere technology was being used, but it was just a blind use of that technology, not considering that how it may affect, impact the community or the environment. Okay, got my point? Anybody wants to say something on this, share something? I'll move forward otherwise. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you guys tired?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Oh, good.
No.
Happy to know that.
Ma'am,
Okay,
if we
happy to
talk
know.
about
No,
taking,
ma'am.
Yeah.
ma'am, if we talk about taking pride in our caste and religion, ma'am, what do I think is that ki, ma'am, we should have pride in our religion and caste. But when it comes for development, we should not involve our caste and religion in our development and the betterment of the societies, like the politicians
Yes.
do that, ma'am. But ma'am, we
Yes.
can,
See.
ma'am, over, ma'am.
Okay, fine. See, caste, religion to your region, these are very important, because these let you have an identity, and an identity is very important for any individual. If I talk about women, and I'm not against men here, but the thing is that women have had a
Yes, ma'am. If you talk about men, ma'am, that
what
will
should
be
I say?
offending. Please.
Sorry,
Ma'am, if you talk about men, ma'am, that will be offending. So please.
talking about men, what?
Like you are saying, if you will try to speak against men, that will be offending.
Okay, I'm not speaking against men. I said I'm not against men. I'll give you another example, or I'll give you one example on this as well. But women have had to, struggle a lot when they wanted to be part of the, what should I say, the economics, the developmental activities, from voting rights to many other things. And they are doing fine. But there was a struggle wherein, men equally participated. My dad, for example, encouraged us. He asked us first to get a good education, get a good job, then you think about getting married. All right. So there have been, changes which have happened, but the identity for women, for example, at a particular part of a particular century became very important. That yes, I belong to somebody, or I can earn for myself, becomes very important. Then again, see, for men, from their side, I'll give you one example of an advertisement, that how stereotypes are created, and how biased those stereotypes can be against the men. So there was, if I'm not wrong, there was this one ad of Iodex or Move, okay, wherein a male boy gets injured who is hardly 5 or 6 years of age, and the mom tells that boy that लड़के रोते नहीं. ठीक है, so he gets injured badly, खून निकल रहा है, but mom tells that लड़के रोते नहीं. So just imagine that men in our society are not allowed to express themselves, even if they are sad, if they are hurt, if they have lost on something very valuable, important to them. All right, fine. Are you getting my point? Then another advertisement to that came, wherein earlier it was लड़के रोते नहीं, and then the other thing is that लड़के रुलाते नहीं. This is again biased towards the men. So wherein, I mean, they were trying to tell that men actually are the cause of suffering for the women. So ladke rulate hain. This is, so are you getting my point? So either ways, this can actually become biased. The thing is that we have to basically understand. All right. So identity very important. These social institutions that we have, again, these are very important for all of us, because these give us identity, but these should remain in the personal sphere, and not should go to the just now it was mentioned that when you go at the broader level, then you should forget about the personal identities that you have, so that other things do not get compromised, the development doesn't get compromised, any particular community should not get affected. Okay, got my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So I'll move further. So modernity and values. So quickly, I'll tell you that this concept of modernity. Just give me 2 minutes. I'll be back in. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes. You
Okay,
can
ma'am.
take break.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Modernity and values. All right. So because I was focusing upon the macro, structures or institutions that influence our values, so I'll bring this concept of modernity into it. And what do we mean by modernity? So basically, it refers to a powerful set of cultural, political, economic, and spatial relationships that have fundamentally influenced the nature of social life, the economy, and the use and experience of time and space. Okay, it emphasizes on rationality, scientific approach, individualism,
Ma'am, I
humanism,
think your
reliance on
slide is
state and its. Okay,
like if ma'am, can you
these
refresh? Yes, ma'am.
interruptions.
Thank you.
So, just a second. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So modernity basically refers to a powerful set of cultural, economic, and spatial relationships that have fundamentally influenced the nature of social life, the economy, the use and experience of time and space. It emphasizes on rationality, scientific approach, individualism, humanism, reliance on state and its institution. I will not go into, deeper into these humanism and other concepts. We already have an understanding. I can, if you want, bring in, some philosophers, scholars who have basically described or worked on it if you want, or I can just share it with you in Google Classroom, so that later on you can, whenever you have free time, you can actually read more about it. But in a simpler in simpler words, if I say modernity, so basically it started somewhere in the 20th early 20th century, wherein because of the industrial revolution, a lot of changes were happening in terms of the innovations that were happening, so railways to automobiles, to the kind of ideologies that again were being looked at or being understood, socialism to democracy, for example. All right, so modernity basically talks about the new techniques or ideas that are introduced in different spheres of the society, economics or others. All right, but this is different from modernism. We'll only be focusing on modernity, not modernism, because it's a philosophical movement, and obviously a lot of scholars will come into the picture. We don't have much time for that. And then the industrial revolution to the crisis, Karl Marx, to there are many scholars who basically talked about it. So we'll only focus upon modernity and the kind of new technology, techniques, ideas that have been introduced, and how these have brought in change. Okay. And again, here I will talk less about the positives of modernity because it has given us a lot. Okay, so transportation, for example, has become easier for us. It's now the entire world is called a global village. Why? Because of these technological developments which have taken place or have been taking place. So a lot of positives have come into the picture because of this particular change that is happening. But parallelly, there's a lot of crisis as well, and because of which the order, or the spellings of chaos are wrong here, sorry. So what happens is that there have been situations of crisis wherein certain sections of the community group or regions basically get affected. So fine, I'll come at this picture later. So if I say, for example, the colonizing of various regions that happened, it happened because of modernity, because of the kind of innovations that had happened in railways, weaponry, for example. So one part of the world which was doing great when it comes to creating or making or producing weapons, for example, could rule regions or groups that didn't have access to that kind of an innovation. Okay, so there was chaos, so there were changes. Again, those were happening at larger surface. Technology, for example, social media, for example. So you now understand, again, there are pros and cons. So if I talk about social media, so now we are interacting with each other. It's all because we have this technology in our hands. Imagine a situation wherein this pandemic was there and we didn't have access to the technology or internet. We won't have been able to communicate. All right, so pluses, but then there is chaos as well. We'll look. Okay,
Ma'am,
so how many of you actually can relate to this image? Am I audible?
Sorry, ma'am, but it's just a slide.
Ma'am, which image are you talking about?
Yes, the image. A child is cutting a cake. Can you see it?
No,
No,
ma'am,
No,
it
ma'am,
is
No,
ma'am.
not
No,
it's
it's
ma'am.
a
No,
visible.
not
slide of
no,
visible.
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
wheel only.
It is not visible.
Could you see this slide on modernity and values?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am. Same
yes,
slide you have
page
seen
number
from
8,
five
ma'am.
minutes.
Okay. Can you see it now?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
no, ma'am.
No.
I'll share it again. Just a
No,
second. I
ma'am.
don't know. Some again.
Yes,
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 Ma'am,
ma'am.
ma'am.
now
now
it's
it's
Yes,
visible.
visible.
ma'am. It's visible. It's changing.
Okay. Something wrong with my system, I suppose. I'll stop presenting, I'll present it again because otherwise you won't be able to see it in full screen. Can you see it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Can you see the image also?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Celebrating birthday.
Birthday party, ma'am.
Fine. Yes, it's a birthday party. So, how many of you can actually relate to it? When was the last time that you actually had a birthday party of this sort? No
Maybe in class
response.
fifth or
Don't
sixth.
even
Last year.
sixth
7th month
last year.
gift.
Oh, good. 11th. Somebody says sixth. Somebody says 11th. Somebody is a socialite, I suppose. Last year only he had
And
a
till
birthday
class
party of
till
this sort.
class 10th, till class 10th we were celebrating
10th.
birthday like this. But after that, we feel like we grown up and we are not much kids, so we do not celebrate like
Yes.
this.
Okay, fine. Because now we have birthday parties of this sort.
Ma'am,
Okay.
with the
Can you see
cats
this
and
slide now?
all in childhood only. With
Sorry?
the cats and all in childhood. We celebrate now, but not
Yeah.
with all those caps and like that setup.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, because now
Also
you
our
have
friends do not give any gift, any kind of gift. They only came and ate and go.
yes. So see, what happens is that modernity, although it has, brought in a lot of positives for us, but then there have been changes also. The competition, for example, why did you have a birthday party when you were in 10th and not in 11th and 12th? Because there was so much of competition that you were supposed to face. You were put in, I don't know if you went, what is that industry? Actually, it's an industry wherein you are trained to clear your entrance exams, quota.
Yes, ma'am. It's kind of factory.
Factory, ma'am.
It's a factory, yes. Yes. So what happens is that, your goals, vision, values change. And now, again, with this social media, and I'm not saying it has connected a lot of people who otherwise would not have been able to, but a lot of times, see, I don't know if I'm correct or wrong. I read it like 2 years back somewhere that how many times on an average an individual actually clicks on his Facebook account in a day, 24 hours. It's like between 30 or 35 times. Just imagine that. And if you are clicking 30 to 35 times on your Facebook account, how much time are you spending on it? Then which could have been spent with somebody else. So this face to face interaction, so the interaction discussion part somewhere, it's lacking. And you also know that what social media has actually done. So you wear a dress, you eat something, or you go to an event, and what kind of comments would actually start coming on it? Could be positives or could actually kill a person, put him in depression. All right. So modernity again has benefits, it has the negatives. The thing is that we have to actually strike the balance somewhere. We have to know that the limit actually, uh, how much you should actually get into it has to be checked. So once I actually attended a seminar wherein somebody, a civil engineer, had come, and in that seminar he was mentioning that there is some tribe in Assam or northeast, not Assam. I don't know. I'm forgetting again. In northeast somewhere, there is one tribe whose happiness index he stated was the maximum. So happiness is also measured, and that tribe's happiness was the highest amongst all the different tribes and communities across India. And then he said that because he was a civil engineer, and what they were trying to do is that they were trying to get deep into that area region so that there could be roads, there could be electricity, water supply, to many other things. The development part that is happening in other side of the mainstream society should have go there also, should happen there as well. And he said that they get up at 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning or 4, I don't know, and sleep by 7 or 8 in the night. So so my question was that if their happiness index is highest across all the communities, so why do you think that they need such kind of an of a development? And if roads, railways, electricity, everything reaches there, industrials will also go there, forest deforestation will result, tribes will lose their identity, and lot many other things will happen. Okay. But then again, that doesn't mean that you deprive them of those developmental activities, but their involvement is very important. You should know whether they actually want it, make them aware. Okay, let them know that what basically this particular activity or act is going to involve themselves in. All right, whether they want it or they don't want it. So participation of that particular group, community, individual is very important. If students are getting affected by something, so their viewpoints very important. Okay, so engineering, see, very important for a nation's growth or a community's or region's growth. But then again, there are certain checks and balances which need to be followed. That's what my point is. So you can now relate between the past and the present. So how the changes basically take place. You may be more towards the present side. You may be liking that kind of a change happening, but then there might be other people who might be again that is something we are missing. Because of that, there is one another futuristic understanding which might happen. So go from left to right and just read what they are talking about. Okay, so this kind of a change may happen, and we may turn from human beings to more like robots. So somewhere the check needs to be done. All right. So somewhere the values should not be compromised. You should still, if you are walking on a road, you see an accident happening, you should help the person out. Then thinking कि मेरे पे ही पुलिस केस ना बन जाए. ठीक है. So there, this human aspect of it should not die. That's my point. Okay. So value crisis, if I talk about, so I'm not going to get into the details of it because there is time constraint also, and we have to watch one video which I feel very important and relevant for all of us. So because of the modernity, there could be civilization crisis. So colonization, I've already mentioned. We've borrowed ideologies also from the West, wherein we've just applied those in our context without thinking about whether those are going to benefit our society or not. There could be technological crisis which I've again shared earlier. Bhopal gas tragedy, for example. So see, because of this capitalism, the entire focus is on churning profits out of an industry, not thinking about the workforce. You even know Nike, for example. So Southeast Asia, they have these their factories there. All right. And why do they have their factories there? Because they get cheap labor. And watch documentaries on that. You will find that how values get compromised. All right. Wherein at 50 cents per shoe, this is what they get, and the living conditions are pathetic. All right. So technological advancements have happened, but then it has resulted in a lot of crises as well. So economic crisis again, and this difference between haves and have not. So we come across these figures also कि 1% population के पास 90% wealth है. Okay, and the rest 90% of the population actually has 1% of the wealth. So such a mismatch. All right. So because of this modernity, such crisis, and what happens is that because of such processes which are happening across you, because of the competition, because of the commodification, because of the kind of attractions, तो सबके पास में गाड़ी, बंगला, मोबाइल फोन, आईफोन, है ना, सब कुछ होना चाहिए. तो उसमें क्या होता है then there is an intense conflict, and what happens is that somewhere your thought process, your values, they get compromised, corrupted. We all know that. And I am not asking you to become saints. That is not going to happen, because again, there is a lot of competition, and you've just started with your career. But my suggestion or request would be that before you get into something, think about the positives, negatives, how it is going to affect me, my family, or the people around me. I think that way somewhere some percentage of it can be handled. Okay. So basically, if you understand that what is genuinely valuable to you, you know how to actually conduct yourself, or any particular group or organization for that matter who is involved in that decision making. So for example, scientific analysis, all right, when it is happening, so it should not be just objective. Subjectivity is very important. Research mein bola jata hai that you are supposed to be objective, but now the focus has shifted. They say ki subjectivity is also important. You have to know the other side, uh, uh, you know so what exactly is happening in the minds, thought processes of the other person who are involved. So यहाँ पे जैसे mention किया, the culture and values are very important. You cannot just bring in one technology, introduce it, and destroy that particular culture. So can you give me an example wherein any kind of scientific technology innovation basically created problems for a region wherein it was introduced
Chernobyl.
quickly?
Chernobyl.
Sorry, Chernobyl. Yes.
Chernobyl.
So see, so what happened? Yes. Okay. Good. Any other example? There are a lot of examples. Anyhow, you think about it later on. Okay. Then see, again, somebody mentioned now that this identity should be at the personal affair, caste, religion, other things, and you should not have group prejudices or biases. कि वो तो इस जात के लोग तो इसी टाइप के होते हैं, इस कास्ट के लोग. नॉर्थ और साउथ में भी वी हैव लॉट ऑफ स्टीरियोटाइप्स. तो नॉर्थ इंडियन वुड से कि साउथ इंडियंस तो होते ही ऐसे हैं, साउथ इंडियन आई डोंट नो माइट से कि नॉर्थ इंडियंस में तो होता ही ऐसे है.
हाँ.
We should actually love the diversity. We are so rich with the kind of diversity that we have. I mean, I think no other nation actually has in terms of language, to culture, to people, to dress patterns, to folklore, to folk songs. So these the conditioning which I was talking about, that is something which is to be questioned. All right, and we should love diversity. Then actually enjoying those stereotypes that have been created. Okay, and then we should talk about sustainable growth. And for engineers, this is very important because this is one area wherein the engineers can actually help out the population with. Then the well-being again is important, and I think Hina Chabra madam has already talked about that. How can you actually take care of yourself, your near ones? Fine, and then this collective identity, very important. So if you see yourself as part of a nation or of a region also, no problem with that. So you will actually think about the betterment of, in a positive sense, I mean, not in a negative connotation wherein you again start criticizing the other, though positive criticism is important, but if you are just criticizing the other group, that's not what is expected. So this collective identity, we feeling very important. Okay, before you jump into any conclusion, or if you are trying to come up with any kind of technological innovation, or introducing any change. Okay, so okay, so anything you want to talk about, observation, suggestion, any question, any inputs? No.
Ma'am, your
Okay,
way
fine,
of
no
teaching is
problem.
very good.
Okay, sorry.
Ma'am, your way of teaching is very good.
Okay, thank you. But can you come up with one
Ma'am, if you
criticism,
can revise,
positive criticism? Huh?
ma'am, if you can revise us all those things which Hina ma'am taught, then it will be big help.
Okay, fine. Okay, so I'm happy. I've been, praised. But what I expect more is a positive criticism. Come up with some kind of a positive criticism or something more that you expect from me. That will help me further with the teaching. Quickly, I told you, I'm very frank with such things. Don't worry.
No, ma'am, we don't have
No?
any.
Next time, ma'am.
Ma'am, we don't
No,
know
we
this.
don't.
Next.
Mm,
Okay. But I'm not liking this because I want positive criticism. And if you actually want to talk about some other topic, you can let me know. But next week also, I will try to bring in something interesting for you. Though the class has not ended, you might be tired. There was one video this TED talk which I wanted to show you. So, do you have the energies to actually watch it, or should I just share it on in Google Classroom and want to watch it later?
No, ma'am, we can
Yes.
watch it now.
Yes,
Well,
ma'am,
we
we
can
can
watch
watch
it
it now.
now.
Please go ahead.
yes,
Ma'am, we
yes,
can watch
ma'am.
it now.
Okay, fine. Now, see, this TED Talk, it's like hardly 18 to 19 minutes. Most of the TED Talks are actually for maximum 20 minutes, I suppose, because what research suggests is that is the maximum time, that a brain can actually function well. I took like 1 hour and 30 minutes. I don't know how well your brains can function, but I'm confident. I know. So this TED Talk is about one particular person Sanjit Roy. You might have seen this particular TED talk. Just watch it. He was from an affluent family, is from an affluent family. He could have, looked for much more greener pastures, but he decided for something else. Why? Because he observed something happening and then he took a decision. All right. And opted for a career. It was not actually a career, but a passion, which, has revolutionized, changed the lives of many. uh, I'll just click it for a while. Just let me know if you can hear the audio. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it or not. Just say yes or no if you can hear the audio.
Ma'am, the video is not
Could
visible.
you hear?
Can you please?
We can't see the video.
Okay. Acha, I'll do one thing. I'll share it in the
Um,
web page. Just a second. I'll stop this. I'll share it there. Just let me know if audio, because there could be a problem with the audio. Could you hear the audio?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Okay, then watch it. Okay.
I'd like to take you to another world, and I'd like to share a 45-year-old love story with the poor living on less than $1 a day. I went to a very elitist, snobbish, expensive education in India, and that almost destroyed me. I was all set
Ma'am,
to
could
be
you
a
mute your
diplomat,
mic, please?
teacher, doctor,
The
Yes,
voice
ma'am.
is echoing.
Okay.
all laid out.
Okay.
I don't look it, but I was the Indian national squash champion for 3 years. The whole world was laid out for me. Everything was on my feet. Could do nothing wrong. And then I thought, out of curiosity, I'd like to go and live and work, just see what a village is like. So in 1965, I went to what was called the worst Bihar famine in India, and I saw starvation, death, people dying of hunger for the first time. Changed my life. Came back home, told my mother, I like to live and work in a village. Mother went into a coma. What is this? The whole world is laid out for you, the best jobs are laying out for you, and you want to go and work in a village? I mean, is there something wrong with you? I said, no, I've got the best education, it made me think, and I wanted to give something back in my own way. What do you want to do in a village? No job, no money, no security, no prospect. I said, I want to live and dig wells for 5 years. Dig wells for 5 years? You went to the most expensive school and college in India and you want to dig wells for 5 years? She didn't speak to me for a very long time because she thought I'd let my family down. But then I was exposed to the most extraordinary knowledge and skills that very poor people have, which is never brought into mainstream, which is never identified, respected, applied on a large scale. And I thought I'd start a barefoot college only for the poor. What the poor thought was important would be reflected in the college. Went to this village for the first time. Elders came to me and said, are you running from the police? I said, no. You failed in your exam? I said, no. You didn't get a government job? I said, no. What are you doing here? Why are you here? The education system in India makes you look at Paris and Delhi and Zurich. What are you doing in this village? Is there something wrong with you you're not telling us? I said, no. I want to actually start a college only for the poor. What the poor thought was important would be reflected in the college. So then they gave me some very sound and profound advice. They said, please, don't bring anyone with a degree and qualification into your college. So it's the only college in India where if you should have a PhD or a master's, you're disqualified to come. You have to be a cop-out or a washout or a dropout to come to our college. You have to work with your hands. You have to have a dignity of labor. You have to show that you have a skill that you can offer to the community and provide a service to the community. So we started the Barefoot College, and we redefined professionalism. Who is a professional? A professional is someone who has a combination of competence, confidence, and belief. A water diviner is a professional. A traditional midwife is a professional. A traditional bone setter is a professional. These are professionals all over the world. You'll find them in any inaccessible village around the world. And we thought that these people should come into mainstream and show that the knowledge and skills that they have is universal. It needs to be used, needs to be applied, needs to be shown to the world outside that these knowledge and skills are relevant even today. So the college works following the lifestyle and work style of Mahatma Gandhi. You eat on the floor, you sleep on the floor, you work on the floor. There are no contracts, no written contracts. You can stay with me for 20 years, go tomorrow. And no one can get more than $100 a month. You come for the money, you don't come to Barefoot College. You come for the work and the challenge, you come to the Barefoot College. That is where we want you to try crazy ideas. Whatever idea you have, come and try. Doesn't matter if you fail. Battered, bruised, you start again. It's the only college where the teacher is the learner and the learner is the teacher. And it's the only college where you don't give a certificate. You are certified by the community you serve. You don't need a paper to hang on the wall to show that you are an engineer. So when they said that, they said, well, show us what is possible. What are you doing? This is all mumbo jumbo if you can't show it on the ground. So we built the first Barefoot College in 1986. It was built by 12 barefoot architects who can't read and write. Built on $1.50 a square foot. 150 people lived there, worked there. They got the Aga Khan Award for Architecture in 2002. But then they suspected, they thought there was an architect behind it. I said, yes, they made the blueprints, but the barefoot architects actually constructed the college. We are the only ones who actually returned the award for $50,000 because they didn't believe us and we thought that they were actually casting aspersions on the barefoot architects at Telonia. I asked a forester, high-powered, paper-qualified expert. I said, what can you build in this place? He had one look at the soil and said, forget it, no way, nothing can work. No water, rocky soil. I was in a bit of a spot, and I said, okay, I'll go to the old man in the village and say, what should I grow in this pot? He looked quietly at me and said, you build this, you put this, and it'll work. This is what it looks like today. Went to the roof, and all the women said, clear out. The men should clear out because we don't want to share this technology with the men. This is waterproofing the roof. It is a bit of jaggery, a bit of urine, and a bit of other things I don't know, but it actually doesn't leak. Since 1986, it hasn't leaked. This technology, the women will not share with the men. It's the only college which is fully solar electrified. All the power comes from the sun. 45 kilowatts of panels on the roof and everything works out of the sun for the next 25 years. So long as the sun shines, I have no problem with power. But the beauty is that it was installed by a priest, a Hindu priest who's only done 8 years of primary schooling. Never been to school, never been to college. He knows more about solar than anyone I know anywhere in the world. Guaranteed. Food, if you come to the Barefoot College, is solar cooked. But the people who fabricated that solar cooker are women. Illiterate women who actually fabricate the most sophisticated solar cooker. It's a parabolic Scheffler solar cooker. Unfortunately, they're almost half German. They're so precise. You'll never find Indian women so precise. Absolutely to the last inch, they can make that cooker. And we have 60 meals twice a day of solar cooking. We have a dentist. She's a grandmother, illiterate, who's a dentist. She actually looks after the teeth of 7,000 children. Barefoot technology. This was 1986, no engineer, no architect thought of it, but we are collecting rainwater from the roofs. Very little water is wasted. All the roofs are connected underground to a 400,000 liter tank, and no water is wasted. If we have 4 years of drought, we still have water in the campus because we collect rainwater. 60% of children don't go to school because they have to look after animals, sheep, goats, domestic chores. So we thought of starting a school at night for the children. They're called the night schools of Thilonia. Over 75,000 children have gone through these night schools because it's for the convenience of the child. It's not for the convenience of the teacher. And what do we teach in these schools? Democracy, citizenship, how you should measure your land, what you should do if you're arrested, what you should do if your animal is sick. This is what we teach in the night schools. But all the schools are solar lit. Every 5 years, we have an election between 6 to 14-year-old children participate in a democratic process, and they elect a prime minister. The prime minister is 12 years old. She looks after 20 goats in the morning, but she's prime minister in the evening. She has a cabinet, Minister for Education, Minister for Energy, Minister for Health, and they actually monitor and supervise 150 schools for 7,000 children. She got the World's Children's Prize 5 years ago, and she went to Sweden. First time ever going out of a village, never seen Sweden, wasn't dazzled at all by what was happening. And the Queen of Sweden, who's there, turned to me and said, "Can you ask this child where she got her confidence from? She's only 12 years old, and she's not dazzled by anything." And the girl who's on her left turned to me and looked at the Queen straight in the eye and said, "Please tell her I'm the Prime Minister." Where the percentage of illiteracy is very high, we use puppetry. Puppet is the way we communicate. You have Joachim Chacha, who's 300 years old. He's my psychoanalyst, he's my teacher, he's my doctor, he's my lawyer, he's my donor. He actually raises money, solves my disputes. He solves my problems in the village. If there's tension in the village, if the attendance in the schools go down and there's a friction between the teacher and the parent, the puppet calls the teacher and the parent in front of the whole village and says, "Shake hands, the attendance must not drop." These puppets are made out of recycled World Bank reports. So this decentralized, demystified approach of solar electrifying villages, we've covered all over India, from Ladakh up to Bhutan. All solar electrified villages by people who have been trained. When we went to Ladakh and we asked this woman, at minus 40, you have to come out of the roof because there's no place, it's all snowed up on both sides. And we asked this woman, what was the benefit you had from solar electricity? And she thought for a minute and said, "It's the first time I can see my husband's face in winter." Went to Afghanistan. One lesson we learned in India was men are untrainable. Men are restless, men are ambitious, men are compulsively mobile, and they all want a certificate. All across the globe, you'll have this tendency of men wanting a certificate. Why? Because they want to leave the village and go to a city looking for a job. So we came up with a great solution: train grandmothers. What's the best way of communicating in the world today? Television? No. Telegraph? No. Telephone? No. Tell a woman. So we went to Afghanistan for the first time. And we picked 3 women and said, we want to take them to India. They said, impossible. They don't even go out of their rooms and you want to take them to India. I said, I'll make a concession. I'll take the husbands along as well. So I took the husbands along. Of course, the women were much more intelligent than the men. In 6 months, how do we train these women? Sign language. You don't use the written word. You don't use the spoken word. You use sign language. And in 6 months, they can become solar engineers. They go back and solar electrify their own village. This woman went back and solar electrified the first village, set up a workshop. The first village ever to be solar electrified in Afghanistan were by the 3 women. This woman is an extraordinary grandmother, 55 years old, and she solar electrified 200 houses for me in Afghanistan, and they haven't collapsed. She actually went and spoke to an engineering department in Afghanistan and told the head of a department the difference between AC and DC. Didn't know. Those 3 women have trained 27 more women and solar electrified 100 villages in Afghanistan. We went to Africa and we did the same thing. All these women sitting in one table from 8, 9 countries, all chatting to each other, not understanding a word because they're all speaking a different language. But their body language is great. They're speaking to each other and actually becoming solar engineers. I went to Sierra Leone, and there was this minister driving down at the dead of night, comes across this village, comes back, goes into the village, says, what's the story? They said, these 2 grandmothers. Grandmothers? Minister couldn't believe what was happening. Where did they go? Went to India and back. Went straight to the president. He said, do you know there's a solar electrified village in Sierra Leone? He said, no. Half the cabinet went to see the grandmothers the next day. What's the story? So he summoned me and said, can you train me 150 grandmothers? I said, I can't, Mr. President, but they will. The grandmothers will. So he built me the first barefoot training center in Sierra Leone, and 150 grandmothers are being trained in Sierra Leone. Gambia, I went to select a grandmother in Gambia. Went to this village, I knew which woman I would like to take. The community got together and said, I'll take these 2 women. I said, no, I'm going to take this woman. They said, why? She doesn't know the language, you don't know her. I said, no, I like the body language, I like the way she speaks. Difficult husband, not possible. Call the husband. Husband came. Swaggering, politician, mobile in his hand, not possible. Why not? The woman, look how beautiful she is. I said, yeah, she's very beautiful. What happens if she runs off with an Indian man? That was the biggest fear. I said, she'll be happy, she'll ring up in a mobile. She went like a grandmother and came back like a tiger. She walked out of the plane and spoke to the whole press as if she was a veteran. She handled the national press, and she was a star. And when I went back 6 months later, I said, where's your husband? Oh, somewhere, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Success story. I will just wind up by saying that I think you don't have to look for solutions outside. Look for solutions within and listen to people. They have the solutions in front of you. They're all over the world. Don't even worry. Don't listen to the World Bank. Listen to the people on the ground. They have all the solutions in the world. I'll end with a quotation by Mahatma Gandhi. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. Thank you.
Okay, fine. So I hope you were actually able to watch the entire talk. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Fine. So I think you got the idea, what exactly I was trying to say during this entire session. So this particular TED talk actually, culminates all those ideas. So values, for example. So what is important to a community, if you actually give importance to that, it doesn't mean that the change cannot be brought about. And that change which is happening wherever could be at an individual level or at a collective level, that could be a simple change or simple use of technology. For example, say they were using solar panels, but nowhere the environment, see, just imagine there was use of technology, but nowhere the environment was getting compromised, right? So if you are clear about what you want, what kind of change you want to brought in, you can parallelly also assure that the well-being or the values of that particular community or a group or an individual do not get compromised. And this is not an easy path, tough, because you find that all kind of processes happen all around you. But in your case, because you are prospective engineers, so this is what is expected out of you. So when you have your degrees, when you start working, so this is the kind of change that we expect. And on a lighter note, I don't think or want that you get too motivated by this person that you quit your engineering degrees and start doing something else. That was not my agenda, but it was different. I hope you got my point. Okay, so I'll stop here. uh, uh, Fine. So anything that you want to add, or should I just start taking the attendance?
Ma'am, Hina ma'am has given us individual project to make.
Yes.
Ma'am, that now we have
Yes.
to
So
make
what
or
we'll
not?
do is, have you started working on those presentations?
No,
We have
ma'am.
already made
No,
most
ma'am.
of
Most of the people
I'm
that
No,
have
ma'am.
completing.
No, ma'am, we
we
have
have
not
No,
done
already
that.
made
We
it.
haven't.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, we have already made the PPT.
Ma'am,
And then
we
Hina
haven't
ma'am told us
started
that we
yet.
were not supposed to do all these
Stated
things.
also.
Hina ma'am told so
All
we
these
didn't
things.
make it.
Okay, we'll do one thing.
Ma'am, more than 80%
The
of people
class
haven't made it.
representative,
Shivam,
Yes,
Shivam.
they
ma'am.
have done or not done, Shivanshi?
Yes, ma'am. We have done the PPT.
Okay, no problem. What we'll do is from next week onwards, I'll restrict my lecture to 1 hour. Okay, post that we'll have these presentations. So that because this semester is also going to end, in between you'll have your, I think, MCQs to midterm break and many other things. We may not have many classes. So I think this activity should also begin, this TA activity, wherein I'll make assessments. Okay. So next week onwards, we'll do that. What can actually be done is that Shivam and Samriddhi, can you just
Yes, ma'am.
help me out with this, that amongst all your batchmates, I mean this particular section, those who are actually interested to present next week, can I get that list?
Okay, ma'am. Okay, we will
Okay,
send
ma'am.
that
And
list.
fine. And I think per presentation, how much average time is needed? 5 to 10 minutes?
5 to 6 minutes,
Ma'am,
ma'am,
5 to 6 minutes,
maximum.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, not more than eight
Fine. So
minutes.
I'll start my Okay, I'll start my lecture at 10:30, finish by 11:30. Post that we'll have these presentations. Now you both of you actually prepare the list. So those who are interested to deliver their presentations next week, just share that list with me and share that with them also, that who all will be presenting. Okay.
Okay,
So
Okay,
ma'am.
ma'am.
And
can you do
ma'am,
that for
what
me?
about that video? We have to make that video also. Group
Ma'am,
Which
discussion,
video?
and
we haven't
we haven't
working
started
on that
with that yet.
video. So, ma'am, can we skip that part,
Okay, I,
ma'am?
I
Like,
don't I don't need that video. No, if you have not started with the video, so you can stop that activity.
okay, ma'am.
I
Thank you,
would
ma'am.
only expect presentations from you. You can pick a topic which has, those who have not started working, which has obviously to do with this particular course. You can pick any topic and you can work on it. And time
Ma'am,
allotted
topic
is,
has
as
already
they've
been
mentioned.
given to us.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
That's fine then.
uh,
Fine. So
ma'am, will you be
Then we
giving any other assignment beside this PPT?
No, I won't.
Any group
Okay.
project?
I
Okay,
may
ma'am.
ask I may ask you to sit for group discussions. Okay. So what we can do is we can make groups of 8 to 10 students, and
Okay,
we
ma'am.
can have group discussions of like 10 minutes or 5. We'll restrict because there are 69 students actually. So we'll restrict. This way, 2 3 things can happen. Obviously, you will read about the topic. I don't know if you want the topic or I should just come with any topic just like that.
Ma'am,
I
that
think that is
PPT we will
better.
present on our screen,
Yes,
and we have to
yes,
explain
yes,
also.
yes, definitely.
Ma'am, all
PowerPoint.
students
Okay.
have to make PPT.
All the people have to show it.
Yes, everybody will be given a time of like 5 to 6 minutes, as they have been mentioning. All of you will
Ma'am,
have to actually, present.
means
Okay.
Okay,
what
ma'am.
about
We
the
may
topic
go
for
for
the
group
discussion?
discussions.
And what about the
Yes,
topic
Shivanshu.
that group discussion?
Ma'am, I
Topic
was
I'm
asking that
told
it
that
means it is compulsory.
presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay.
5 minutes of work. Presentation is compulsory. You see, the thing is that obviously you will get marks for it. The other thing is that you will practice also. You'll have a practice also how to present, and in coming years you'll have to be making. You will have to make a lot of presentations, deliver, and this will help you with that. Okay, and the use of technology again, how to present, how to use Google platform and other things. But some might be expert already, but then those who have not had any experience in it, so they will also learn. Okay, so everybody will be presenting, and as I've been told that Hina ma'am has already given the topics to you, so you can work on those topics. If you want to change, you can change also, but it has to be related to this particular course, value education. So you bring that. I've showed you this TED talk. You can bring in, again, you can talk about any organization, NGO which is working in this area, but you don't have to show TED talk videos. That I can do, you cannot. So you have to come up with your own material. Okay, that's the thing. And the CRs will actually chalk out the list of the students will be presenting next week. Check the time also. So 10:30 to sorry, 11:30 to 12:15, you get 45 minutes. So how many students can be adjusted, that you see, and share the details with the students as well as me, those who will be presenting. Okay, is that okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. What about the topic that
And in
group
case
discussion you said?
group discussion, I see, if we are left with the time, so I would like to have group discussions also. We can have groups of 10 students, and my agenda is not just the marks, but it's training you for actually the events that may happen in your you know
Okay, ma'am.
upcoming
Or ma'am,
semesters. So by sixth semester, seventh.
can we take any organization or a person who motivates society as a topic of that PPT presentation? Ma'am, his history
Definitely,
or maybe.
definitely,
uh, Okay.
definitely.
Ma'am,
From
so
my side, you are
like,
actually free to.
ma'am, four people were given one topic for PPT. So now they can
Okay,
change, like,
okay.
But
so
ma'am,
are they
some
allowed to
See, if
change
all
it?
four are okay. See,
Ma'am,
if
since
already these four.
ma'am,
Yes, Shivam.
since the topic was limited, which has been provided by the ma'am, we have provided 4 students for same topic. So, ma'am, it will not create any issue, I think, for you.
See, if you have already worked on the presentations individually or in groups of four, I have no problems. So you can continue
No,
with
no,
that.
ma'am. The
The only
groups,
thing
No,
is
ma'am,
that if four,
ma'am,
only they
ma'am,
have to
not the
make
group.
separate four PPT, but they only have the same topic. Like they have four PPTs, but same topic on that particular topic. Like if my topic is peer pressure, then I have made a PPT on peer pressure, and three other people have also made a PPT on peer pressure.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
okay, fine, fine. Okay, so it's individual presentation, right?
Yes,
What
yes.
what will be the last date of submitting that or presenting that?
See, we'll have these presentations weekly, Sanjeev. Okay. So depends now. If you are ready for next week, you can present next week. Those who have already worked on their presentations can work, actually present next week. Depends now. I have no hard and fast those rules here कि यही पे काम करना है और उस पे नहीं करना है. If you are not okay with peer pressure, for example, and you want to work on any other topic, you do it. The only thing is that the best thing would be that you should finish your presentation as soon as possible, because coming days, I've told you, you'll have break, you'll have MCQs and other things, and there is a possibility that you might not get a chance to present, and we may have to have a special session again to get over that part. Okay. So my thing is that whenever you are ready, just inform your CRs about it and present. And every week we will not be able to accommodate all, because we'll have only 45 minutes, and maximum how many presentations can actually happen? Seven, six, eight on an
9.
average?
Yes, ma'am. Eight.
Nine,
Ma'am,
fine. But
ma'am, 8 to 9, 9.
8 to 9. Then there will be some technical errors and other issues, so that will get delayed. Okay. So as soon as you can present, so you should do it. Finish off with the task. Okay. Fine.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
And from my side, you have the flexibility to pick any topic. If you have already worked on it, very good. Present the same thing. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Fine. So I think all the students are actually present. I have like 70 here. I need not
And
take your attendance.
pardon, ma'am, can you tell us the maximum percentage of plagiarism?
Maximum
Plagiarism.
percentage of?
Plagiarism.
Yeah, I would actually expect like 1 to 3%. Can you do that?
It
No,
will
ma'am,
be
we
very
cannot.
less, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, this is very less.
Hina ma'am said
Ma'am, at
20,
least
And
20
1
and
to 3
Hina
percent
ma'am has
also
said
will come by
20%.
default even if we don't copy
And we
anything.
have already made the PPT.
Yes, ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
So it's
In
At
plagiarized,
least
I
10 to
suppose.
10.
Ma'am, but presentation will be good.
Ma'am, can you be flexible, able to enough to do 20%?
I'm
Yes,
actually
ma'am.
very particular when it comes to. I'm very particular when it comes to copy pasting. Okay, so 10% is still allowed. 20% is too high. But if you are quoting somebody, just put it in double brackets. Mention the scholar, author, scientist, whatever. So then it doesn't matter much. But if you pick somebody's idea and point and just claim it, then that will be a trouble. Okay, so restrict yourself to 10%. 20% is too high, because what will happen is that again that conditioning will happen. You will get habituated into copy pasting. I don't want that to happen.
Ma'am,
Okay.
we use like definitions. The book is definitions in our presentation, so the percentage is already very high when it compared to my when I talk about my topic. It's human satisfaction. So I just have to use the definitions. So can I alter the definition with my own words, or just write the book's language, because the language that was written already
Yeah.
definition is like absolute.
See, I also used actually two definitions, but I put those definitions in, inverted commas, right? And then I mentioned the source also, the author. So this is not plagiarism. I am
Ma'am,
actually mentioning the person.
ma'am, so are you suggesting that we have to mention the bibliography at the end of the presentation which we are making?
References,
There
yes.
should be a
References, yes.
page
So
at the
you
end,
have to
right?
mention the.
Okay, okay, got it.
Sorry. Yeah,
Okay, no,
mention
And
the references. There's no harm. The only point is, if you are taking somebody's idea, you should actually acknowledge that person. And the definitions, the dialogues, the excerpts from an interview can be put in inverted commas. And that which means that you have taken it from somewhere. You mention the source, you mention the author, the article, and other things. And it's all clear. That is not plagiarism. Okay.
many of the students have already sent the PDF to Hina, ma'am, in which she said that the plagiarism is, I mean, the references are not to be mentioned. I mean, that was not compulsory. So, what can we do for that?
No, add references, and you can. I'll have to check for the settings, and you will share your these presentations in Google Classroom. Okay, let me create that assignment for you, and all of you will upload your PowerPoints in that particular assignment. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
I'll give you the instructions. Don't worry about the presentation. Only those students should worry who are planning to present next week. That's it. Okay, and the CRs will actually clarify that who presents and who doesn't. Please work on this. Help me out with this.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am,
Okay,
sure. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
fine. So should I end the session now?
Attendance memo.
Attendance all 70, 69 I see here, so all are present.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So all of you take care and enjoy your week, and we'll meet next week. Okay, take care. Bye.
Okay, ma'am. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye,
Thank
ma'am.
you,
Thank
ma'am.
you,
Thank
ma'am.
you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.